It's race day in Sakir under the lights. It is great to have your company for the Bahrain Grand Prix. A fantastic venue. Every seat in the house is a good one, including yours. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he will start from pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Albon, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, and Stroll, Antonelli, Bortoleto, Alonso, and George Russell, Jackson, Hadjar, Esteban Ocon, and Behrman, Lawson, Doohan, Nico Hulkenberg, and Cali Meyer, Colapinto, Pepe Marti, Aaron, and Zane Maloney rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And we welcome you to the commentary box overlooking the circuit. I'm Alex Jakes, and I'm joined by Anthony Davidson. I love this moment in the weekend. Put us in their shoes right now. What are they feeling on the grid?
You've got to know, you've got to have a pre-race game plan. You've watched videos before you get into the car of previous races gone by. You know where you have to place your car if X, Y, or Z happens in front of you or behind you. So having this clear game plan is absolutely essential before you get in the car.
Here we go then. The formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. So as all the cars reform the grid, the drivers will be hoping to get a strong start. They'll want to earn some valuable points from today's race, with final communications being done with their race engineers, ensuring their planned strategies are all in place.
All right, here we are, both Konnersports starting in a decent position, P10, P11. We didn't want to try and push an extra set of soft tires as we see the Gulf Williams of, I believe, Hadjar almost smashing into the back of Russell's car here off of the starting grid for the formation lap. The last few cars are in their grid slots. P10 and 11 for Russell and Jackson as the 5 red lights are on here in Bahrain as we are off. Norris and Sainz off to a good start. Norris staying on the outside as we see a lot of cars moving to the outside lane. Sainz covering the inside. 2x2, 3x3 Ferrari, Aston Martin, and McLaren there of Stroll, Bortoleto, and Gasly, I believe it was, through turn 1. A couple 2x2s coming through turns 2 and 3 as well. Russell fighting Hadjar. Jackson fighting off Ocon as we see them coming around that fast right-hander. Well, not really a fast right-hander. Coming down through the S's side by side, Bortoleto and Russell, and that's a spin from Bortoleto. I'm not sure where the mistake happened, but we're gonna have a quick look at the replay. Yellow flags in this sector. No virtual safety car. No safety car for this situation. Russell, quick back, getting back to the grid quickly, making that move on the pass as we see the onboard now from Bortoleto. Fighting the two Aston Martins. Russell's on the outside, taking a lot of curb. Russell's on the racing line. Bortoleto's forced to the inside corner. He couldn't go anywhere. And Russell gets the unfortunate part of this race on the first lap, where he's going to be starting from the back of the grid and basically working his way as we're back on board with Russell, making an easy move on Aaron through turn 10, having the faster car, having the better brakes, as we see Hadjar trying to make a move on Antonelli through that left-hander. As that's basically going to be the focus for us throughout this race here. So we're over halfway through lap 1. Is Russell fighting to get back into the top 10 for points. And it's projected to be either a 2 or 3 lap or 2 or 3 stop race, as we see the McLaren of Gasly fighting. No. No, that's Signs fighting Albon. So we see both Aston Martins coming up to turn 1. A handful of 2x2s. We see Hajar fighting Behrman there for turn 1. Ocon trying to make a move on Behrman, not quite there. As we see them come through. The gaps are forming. 2.3 seconds is the gap between Albon and Norris already. 1.6 between Gasly and Stroll, the leading Aston Martin. Another 1.2 for Bortoleto. And we have Hajar 1.8 as we're going through. So the middle of the pack are pretty close together. Just a handful of drivers that are separated, and then the rest of them are really in a big DRS train. We see P12 to P20 in a big DRS train. The end of lap 2, start of lap 3, we see Jackson on board with Jackson as Bortoleto's trying to make a move. We see Hajar behind him trying to make a move as well. He's not quite there. Norris still 1.8 seconds ahead of Albon. Leclerc holding on to that P3 situation as Gasly and Sainz are in the top 10. That's actually going to be 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, both Gulf Williams. Jackson is still sitting inside the top 10, and then Lando Norris leading the charge as the sole Red Bull Ford. Russell, easy move on Pepe Marty, now up into P19. Now he's trying to chase down Lawson and Colapinto as they battle through the S's, coming downhill to turn 9. We see the kind of control we had on these hard tires. And for having the hard tires, I felt it in Australia and I feel it again here in Bahrain. I have better control on the hard tires. They have a little bit less lifespan, in my opinion, to the medium tires, but that just could be Australia and how it drives. We see it, Lawson and Colapinto still fighting it out. We couldn't make a move here through this fast left-handers. We're trying to get the power down. We're going to be able to make a move here at the end of lap 3, more than likely. As we look for an opening, we try to push, but we can't. We don't want to make any contact with them this early in the race. As we see him pushing. Bortoleto Hajar fighting up ahead for P9, P10 as Jackson is just under a second ahead of them. Or just over. As we're going to have DRS on Lawson and Colapinto looking for maybe a double overtake, but we're going to have to wait and see. But that is the DRS not open for George Russell. We actually found out we had a engine, well, not an engine problem. We had a DRS issue basically all the way to our first pit stop where we weren't allowed to use our DRS, so it was inoperable for us throughout this first race. So we weren't able to make a move on Lawson and Colapinto quite yet, as we're looking to try to get them in the corners. Lap 4 moving on to lap 5. As we're on board with Jackson trying to chase down Lance Stroll. 2.3 seconds between Lance Stroll and his teammate of Alonso. Where it's going to be a similar situation with Albon and Norris. 2.1 between the top 2. Gasly and Sainz holding on. And basically no change to the order quite yet. Antonelli, Behrman, Mayer just outside of the points. So Behrman, the other Red Bull, sitting in P12, trying to close in on Antonelli, while Callie Mayer is running better this time around, as Leclerc is going to be the first one to come into the pits for this race here in Bahrain on lap 6 off of those soft tires. So we're going to see the low end for tire life for the soft tires is going to be 6 laps. We did save a set of soft tires for any red flag or safety car situations. So we're going to see if that pays off as Hajar comes in off of softs as well. He's going to be going on to hard tires behind Leclerc. Leclerc coming out ahead of Maloney. Hajar going to be coming out at the back of the grid. Norris currently leading Albon by 2.3 seconds. Both McLarens jumping up positions as Jackson is splitting the Aston Martins. Here on lap 6, we're basically going through the grid. The gaps have improved with the midfield. Everybody's pretty much over a second gap between the driver ahead and more so with a driver behind him. But at this point in the race, Russell has moved up to P16, made his way past Lawson, not quite past Colapinto at this time, as we are on board with Bortoleto, the man that made the mistake on lap 1. Wrong place, wrong time. and sent Russell flying. I was really mad about that, but we wanted to keep the race going and keep it interesting, and I felt with my pace on those hard tires we could actually do something. Antonelli looking to make a move on Bortoletto on the outside of the final turn. You can see him pushing on those hard tires, but that's going to be Bortoletto still pushing. Not quite yet for him to come into the pits, so the end of lap 6 for him. That's going to be the Alpine of Jack Doohan coming in off of, I believe, our soft tires. Yeah, so soft tires, 7 laps for those soft tires. Or, no, 6 laps total for those soft tires. 5 laps for the soft tires from the other Ferrari of Leclerc and Hadjar. So 5 laps minimum. And we're sitting at 6 laps on to the start of lap 7. Going through the grid to see what kind of tires everybody else is on. Bortoletto still on soft tires, coming on 7 laps on those soft tires. Callie Mayer sitting on hards, I believe. Hulkenberg, Russell, Colapinto, all these guys are on hards as we see Russell going wide and starting to feel the tire life on these hard tires go away. We have about 12 laps of life on these hard tires. Russell's going to be staying out ahead of Colapinto. He made a move earlier. As we see some of the other cars that are coming into the pit lane, coming out of the pit lane. We have Jackson, Bortoletto, I believe, Behrman, Pepe Marti staying out of the field. As we see the McLaren coming out of Pierre Gasly. Ahead of Hadjar, there is Jackson. Hulkenberg in the pits, Lawson in the pits, Maloney in the pits as well. We're moving on forward to lap 8. Carlos Sainz sitting P3 with an engine failure. He's going to have an engine failure second time for the 16 race season. That's going to be very unfortunate for him. Very unfortunate for McLaren to put all this money into Carlos Sainz from Williams to see what he could do for the team after McLaren really was fighting last season. Carlos Sainz engine failure. Russell back up to P7 with those set of pit stops. He's still on those hard tires. We see Carlos Sainz there on the left side. Yellow flag, sector 2. No virtual safety car or safety car. We haven't had one since last season, sometime last season in the second half, I believe. Russell currently sitting P5 on lap 9. 1.9 seconds ahead of Albon, and he's electing to stay out. Gasly pushing against Albon just behind him. See Stroll and Ocon in the pits. That's going to be Norris in the pits as well. Russell, provisional P2. Antonelli still electing to stay out as we see the back end really come out on George Russell. This is going to be the final lap we have to push before we come into the pits. Jackson is already up to P7 on his new set of tires. As Russell is, we're going to be electing to go on a 2-stop. It's a very risky 2-stop for us here, as that is Albon coming in behind us. Now he's going to be using us for a tow to go down that main straight and defend against Norris. As we see, no, that's going to be Antonelli ahead of us in the Mercedes. Callie Mayer out on the field. It's going to be Russell out onto a new set of hard tires for a guaranteed 2-stop. Nobody else coming in behind Russell, so it doesn't seem like anybody else is on a 2-stop for this race. We see him coming out ahead of Colapinto, basically back where we were before the pit stop strategy, trying to get some temperature into these tires as he's pushing off against Colapinto. As we're lap 11, now lap 10. This is actually at the end of lap 10. Behind us, Hulkenberg actually is retiring from the race. You see him slowing, you can see and hear him slowing down, and it seemed like he was about to come into the pits off a new set of those, no, off of those mediums maybe, I'm not quite sure. That's going to be unfortunate for him because he is also retired for the second time this season. Both drivers with repeat retirements as we're back on board with Jackson trying to catch up to Norris and Gasly. Albon still holding on to the lead by 1.3 seconds. He's going to be looking like a very interesting competitive challenger for this season, especially with the upgrades that Williams has come through with. As we look and see what the rest of the gaps are looking like 1.2 between Jackson and Alonso. It's going to be 1.4 between Stroll and Hadjar, 2.3 from Mayer to Stroll. Russell currently sitting P15 as we see 3 wide momentarily. Jackson trying to make a move on Lando Norris. He's also going to try to make a move on Pierre Gasly coming through turn 1. He's going to have the inside corner of turn 2, and he's going to be able to push on those soft tires ahead of Pierre Gasly. It's going to be very interesting with Jackson in the mix-up here. Hopefully he can make that worthwhile on those set of soft tires. But as we're nearing the halfway point of the race here in Bahrain, we're going to go ahead and go to our F1 commentators for some information and recap from last weekend.
There has been no shortage of action here this weekend in Bahrain, as we got a shocking repeat of both Sainz and Hülkenberg retiring from the race. Martin, you took a look at some keynotes for those drivers a moment ago.
Yeah, Crofty, I did end up taking a look at the reason behind the retirements from Australia, and we did get a report that McLaren was still trying to iron out the causes of the last failure. So Sainz's retirement is more than likely the same situation. There isn't that much information about Hülkenberg's retirement, seeming like it was most likely an electrical issue, but the retirement from a few laps ago may be a whole new situation. The team has to invest some off the track time towards before the next race in Miami.
All right, that is something we will have to look out for, as Sainz and Hülkenberg are still waiting to get their season start rolling. We have Naomi Schiff and Laura Winter on standby for some of the grid's tyre strategies. But first, we wanted to head down the pit lane with Ted Kravitz, who's with Ferrari's team principal, Fred Vasseur. Take it away, Ted.
Thank you, Crofty. Fred, thank you for letting me squeeze in here as we have some cars coming down the pit lane. The lap 1 incident with Bortoleto and Russell. Any input from the team that they can reflect on for the remainder of the race?
Lap 1 can always be hectic and have situations place out like it did with our rookie driver. There are plenty of words to be said during the race, but the team will focus on that after the race.
We did see some front wing damage on Bortoleto's car. Will that have any major effect on his possible race results today?
He is in a decent position for his rookie season in F1, and our team will do what they can to get him to finish within the points.
All right, Crofty, there's a lot of action going on in the pit lane, so I'm going to see about making my way to the Red Bull pit box to check in shortly.
Thank you again, Ted, as we have Laura and Naomi to give us some insight on tyre strategies for today's race.
Thanks, Crofty. With this season's regulation changes to tyre compounds, Bahrain is the first of many tracks with high degradation, which will lead to more pit stops for teams. We've already seen it tonight, with some drivers getting close to making preparations for what seems to be some drivers' second stops.
Alongside the stops we've already seen and the choices of available tyre compounds, it does seem like a lot of the teams are opting for a 3-stop race tonight to see if they can make up ground on other drivers around them on different strategies. We've also noticed that of George Russell, despite having the lap 1 incident with Bortoleto, seems to be trying for a strong 2-stop to get himself back into the points.
We do see Russell currently sitting within the top 10. Any other possibilities that may come about throughout the rest of the season before we hand it back over to Ted?
Yes, there will be more races like this definitely throughout the season, and it will also put in an extra challenge for the sprint races.
We're looking forward to that, along with seeing what Monaco has in store with these new tyre regulations, as we head back down to the pit lane, where Ted is waving at us from the Red Bull pit box.
I wasn't actually sure if you guys were able to see that from that distance, but I'm glad it worked. Christian, you're here with Red Bull again after some off-season issues back at the factory. How's the team feeling with confidence so far this season?
I mean, it's not where we want to be compared to last season and the season before that, but that's what the sport is about. The drivers we have, this season know what these cars are capable of. It's just up to them to get the cars across that finish line before everyone else.
There was a big shock when the lineups were released and that Max was not driving this season for Red Bull. Any input on that situation?
I mean, it's like what was said last race weekend. A driver has final say on whether or not they want to drive. With Max winning 5 back-to-back championships, it's understandable that you want to take a break from at least one season.
What's interesting to me is the move from Norris to Red Bull from McLaren, as we will dive into that during another time, as I thank you, Christian, for taking some time with us. We're beyond the halfway point of tonight's race with so much more action to come as Albon is fighting for his second race win in a row this season.
His stop was near perfect onto a new set of soft tyres, looking like a 3-stop for him.
And there was the driver in question earlier, as Bortoleto in the Ferrari also puts on a new set of softs. Let's get back to the action, shall we?
And we are currently still watching some action now. Lap 17, Russell P6 on that second set of hard tires, electing to go hard on these hard tires. We've actually chose to stretch out this stint by another 2 laps, I believe. They originally wanted us to go in on lap 20, and they said that we didn't have much tire life, as we see Gasly making a move on us. Not really much we could do. Even ahead of DRS, we have Hadjar moving on the left side of us, so we're potentially losing 2 positions. Not really. We managed to hold him off through turn 1. Gasly's ahead of us on the faster set of I believe those soft tires. We have DRS through this section, so we're gonna be able to hold on to that momentum against I believe it was Hadjar, but now he's pit. That's Gasly in the pits here on lap 20, and we elect to stay out. We have Alonso with DRS coming up behind us, and that is Lance Stroll, who seemed to lose some ground on his teammate, as, like I said, we don't have that much fighting going on. We have Stroll, or Alonso, behind us with a 2 set softer tire compounds, as we can't really do much. He's going to look to make a move, another move there on the right-hander, not quite there yet. As like I said, we have some pretty good momentum here on the hard tires here in Bahrain, and hoping that this 2-stop strategy will play in our favor after that turn 1 incident, because we're up in P3 right now, and we only have one set of tires to switch over to. It's going to be the medium tires we're going to be switching to, as we're going to be staying out yet again, looking to see what other cars are doing. It looks like it's going to be Norris, maybe, as Jackson comes in, which means we're going to be coming in on the next lap. It's going to be Behrman coming in from Red Bull. I believe Callie Mayer as well in the Mercedes. It's going to be no issues for Jackson. A lot of space going on between cars, as we see Hadjar there leading Gasly, Leclerc, Behrman. Coming out of the pits behind Colapinto. Lap 22, lap 29, so this race is almost over. It'll be the end of lap 22. We're currently sitting at P2. 10.6 is the gap between us and Albon, but we're going to be coming in off of these spent hard tires. Alonso's going to be 1.6 behind. No, he's going to be coming in behind us. So the battle to the end of the race is going to be between us and Alonso. Antonelli staying out. See who else is staying out. Is, I believe, our fight right now is with Alonso onto a new set of medium tires. No issues here. Jackson out on the track making a move. I believe that was Hadjar coming in behind us as well. But that is McLaren of Gasly fighting Hadjar. No. Russell out behind Leclerc, Gasly, Hadjar. I believe that was the Albon that we saw. I'm not quite sure. It just, drivers are everywhere at this point of the race because everybody's so spread out by the timing, the interval that we see here. Russell sitting P9 on lap 23. We see Leclerc coming into the pits, so it's going to be a free position for us. Stroll, I believe, is in the pits as well. That's going to be the Alpine of Colapinto going in for their final stop. And it's going to be a final stop situation for a lot of drivers, so we're going to be sitting provisional P7. Lando Norris 3.1 ahead of Antonelli. And another 10.9 seconds for Albon. Albon has been leading most of this race if it hadn't been Norris. But tire strategy is definitely playing in our favor because we are sitting P7. Bortoletto's back to P11. Leclerc P14. Lap 25 now. We see Alonso is less than 2/10 ahead of us. He's going to make an easy move here on a DRS straight. And we try to fight it as much as we can, but no, he's going to have better traction out of these corners through the S's. as we look to defend against Lance Stroll now. He's 4.3 seconds back and closing as we're coming to the halfway point of lap 25. The overhead view of us trying to keep up with Alonso. We're going to be within DRS range here on turn 10. We're going to have that extra little bit of push, but that's not going to be enough out of the corner as he's already pulling away. And we're going to be moving on to the final lap, where it's going to be Lando Norris in the Red Bull this time around, sitting in P1. As long as nothing happens between now and the checkered flag, which is only a few more corners to go, we're going to have Lando Norris winning in the Red Bull, and that's going to be Antonelli in the Mercedes for P2, and then Alexander Albon in the Gulf Williams for P3. So that's going to be back-to-back podiums for the Gulf Williams of Albon. I'm not sure. I already don't remember who won and who landed on the podium last time around, but we'll know by the end of this race and by the end of the episode. So we're coming around to the checkered flag. Lando Norris brings it home for Red Bull. P2 to Antonelli, and P3 for Albon. Really good push from him as we see Jackson there, P4. Now George Russell pushing for his position on Lance Stroll, as you see Lance Stroll trying to catch up, and he was in actual low fuel mode where we managed some decent points.
The wait is over. Lando Norris takes the checkered flag.
And you could see that they're just at one with the car, maybe really well adapted to the new regulations. They've clearly done their homework back at base, so fantastic stuff. And you get the feeling they're going to be hard to stop this season.
Here we go then, the top three from the race making their way onto the rostrum. And Lando Norris celebrates the win in style. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
All right, there we have it, the results for the Bahrain Grand Prix under the floodlights. A very shocking race for Aiden Jackson and George Russell, as I'm shocked because Aiden did a 3-stop, I did a 2-stop, and we still finished within the points, even though we had gotten spun by Gabriel Bortoleto there on lap 1. I was very irritated, and I'm kind of glad that 2-stop paid off. Seen a lot of people going with 3 stops and a couple people going 4 stops. I see Charles Leclerc, Isaac Hadjar, and Zane Maloney went 4 stops. And then, shockingly, Carlos Sainz and Nico Hülkenberg retired yet again. They retired... I'm pretty sure they retired in the same order because Carlos Sainz retired after Nico Hülkenberg. I believe Nico Hülkenberg retired... he was on his way into the pits, I believe, and then Carlos Sainz retired Sector 3, I believe, end of Sector 2, start of Sector 3. No safety car from that McLaren getting pulled off to the side. As we look again at our top 10, Lando Norris starting on the pole, starting on the top spot, finishing on the top spot. Andrea Kimi Antonelli finishing on the podium yet again. Albon finishing on the podium yet again. No, I don't think Kimi got podium last time around. I think I could be wrong. I don't remember. We'll have to look. We'll look at the standings here in a moment. Alexander Albon, second time on the podium. Jackson P4, Pierre Gasly P5, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll running pretty good so far at the start of this season for Aston Martin. Oliver Behrman starting on P14, finishing in P9 with that 3-stop. Bortoleto losing out on 2 positions, finishing still in the points. And then Callie Mayer starting P18, P11 for her to finish. Not so great from her this time around. As we look at our standings, driver standings, Alexander Albon 40 points on Lando Norris, leading by 11. And Kimi Antonelli sitting in P3 with 14 points back from the lead driver. George Russell and Aiden Jackson are tied for points. We're going to be going to Jackson next time around in Miami. Hopefully we can get it dialed in on the setup. I'll have to look and see what I can do during my practice sessions. Fernando Alonso sitting P6 at 23 points. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way battle for P2 technically. And if you really think about it, fight for the lead. So it's 6-car battle for the lead still. Pierre Gasly, P7 with 10 points, tied with Charles Leclerc at P8 for 10 points. So they're both fighting for P7. Hadjar, Stroll, Behrman, Callie Mayer sitting P12 with 2. Bortoletto sitting in 13th with 1. And the rest of the grid has not scored yet. So 13 out of the 22 drivers have scored so far. Neither Alpine, Haas, Ford Racing Bull, or Audi have scored yet. 1 McLaren. And yeah, so they're looking pretty rough at the start of the season, especially McLaren and Audi when it comes to car parts. As we move on to constructor standings, Konnersport leading by 2 points. Gulf Williams right there with that back-to-back podium from Albon, staying in the fight as Red Bull Ford is sitting at 32. Mercedes, Aston Martin are there 28, 27 points. They're fighting each other. And Ferrari and McLaren are on the back end of the constructors battle so far, with 4 teams out of the 11 not scoring it. Haas, Alpine, Ford Racing Bulls, and Audi Sport. That is our recap for the end of this Bahrain Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was tough, and I really was glad that I ran that 2-stop. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one for the sprint in Miami.